Well, here now to discuss is Claudia Rosett, Independent Women's Forum Foreign Policy Fellow and a foreign affairs columnist for Forbes.com. Claudia, great to have you with us today. We're getting into a lot of deals with the devil here. What do you make of all of this? Don't drill in the U.S., but let's go talk to Iran. Let's go talk to Venezuela.
Well, I'm hoping for some end to to put it diplomatically, apparently bottomless stupidity of President Biden's energy policy, but I am not seeing it. The single most useful, beneficial thing we could do is open up U.S. energy, as President Biden needs to reverse that. Going to Iran and Venezuela when we won't pump it ourselves is bad policy.
Well, here, listen to this. This is Progressive Squad member Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and what she had to say on the matter of a Russian oil ban. Listen.
This is the deal with fossil fuels in general, is that it's not an accident that oil-rich states tend to be petro-authoritarian states. And so none of these options are good ones because of our dependency on oil. And
So AOC, I think, just says we got to get off of all of oil now, of course, ignoring this thing called reality. Claudia, but here's the point. The president's in Texas today, okay?
Yeah.
He could say something helpful. What is it that you would actually like to hear him say that could at some point make a meaningful dent from a foreign policy perspective, given what's going on with Russia and Ukraine?
I would like to hear him say that he is done with adolescent fads and understands that we don't have the technology to replace fossil fuels with windmills and gerbils, and that he is reversing his executive order killing Keystone Pipeline. Fine, go ahead, do it. That he is full bore for the U.S. pumping energy because he understands that there is a showdown going on right now between tyranny and freedom in the world. And he values the lives of people today and our freedom more than he does whatever eco-fad is going on. And he might also note that when turning to Venezuela and Iran, not only are these horrible despotisms in cahoots with Russia and China, they are also among the world's dirtiest oil producers. So this is about the environment. Don't go there.
There is nothing, absolutely nothing green about buying your oil from Venezuela instead of from the United States of America. But here's the related issue, and this kind of falls off the radar a little bit, but we've got these nuclear negotiations going on with Iran, the country that we're looking for oil from now, apparently. And it strikes me that those negotiations are much more tied to what's happening with our policy vis-a-vis Russia than a lot of people are talking about. Take us into that. What's the relationship here, and how is it affecting the Biden administration's behavior right now?
President Biden is desperate to get back into the Iran nuclear deal that President Trump pulled the United States out of in 2018. And Russia has been manipulating President Biden to a fare thee well over this. The more the U.S. wants it, Tony Blinken wants it, the more Russia gets leverage. And you'll note the overlap of timing that these talks, which had run into trouble when Biden reopened them last year, resumed last fall, right about the time that Putin began massing his troops along the border. And the Iranians refused to talk to the Americans directly. So Americans have been using intermediaries instead of walking away from the table as we should have. And guess who the leading intermediary has been? Russia, which is now making its own demands. So effectively, the more the Biden administration wants this Iran deal and Iranian oil, because it won't pump oil and it won't allow Americans to produce more, the more leverage Russia has over us in Vienna. Don't underestimate that. It is a great incentive for the U.S. to defer to Russia on Ukraine. People are dying there fighting for their lives and basically for freedom in the world. That's the real stakes there. So the Iran nuclear talks, we should walk now. It's not worth it.
Well, it strikes me that if we don't walk, what you're saying essentially is Iran's going to increase its capacity to develop nuclear weapons, because we know they're doing that on the sly, even with the deal. And they're going to be welcomed with opened arms back into the oil markets, which enriches their regime to pursue all kinds of trouble in the Middle East. How does Russia benefit from that, Claudia? What's their direct benefit from Iran recovering both the capacity to develop weapons and getting back into oil markets?
Well, to put it really simply, Iran with a nuclear weapon is far less a threat to Russia than it is to our closest ally in the Middle East, Israel, or to the United States, for that matter. Why? Because President Putin would not hesitate to annihilate him if they threatened to annihilate them, if they threatened him with that. We clearly would. We're deferring to them at the bargaining table over this. We've been doing that for years. We're willing to cut deals that allow them to get the bomb. The only way we really stop them through a deal is if it means completely dismantling their nuclear infrastructure and trucking it all out of the country. And that would really mean regime change in Iran, which probably would be a useful thing for the world. But meantime, Russia benefits because there is increasingly what we used to call an axis of evil. I think of it as a conglomerate of evil. Russia, China, their prime sidekicks, Iran and North Korea, their other buddies, Venezuela and Cuba. You can go on down the list. And they oppose a free world order. They are enemies of the United States. They cooperate with each other to get around sanctions, to attack us, to put up propaganda. And at the moment, if you look at who supports what in Ukraine, that's the conglomerate of evil. Lump China in there. They're not neutral in this at all.
And to go back where you started, we're in fact pleading with some of those countries because we've mismanaged our own domestic energy policy right here.
Yes.
Claudia, out of time. Always good to see you. Thanks for being with us.